And this is the last of kind of the community edition setup sessions that I'm going to be preparing content for just with the other tasks I have to do in preparation for the shutdown on May 31st, which is in 2 weeks. But this is a really important one where I'm going to be going over a recently merged pull request that um, outlines kind of all of the different code bases that make up Community Edition that you could possibly need, and then how to self-host those. So we'll be taking a peek at all 10 or I think it's actually 12 of those different code bases. Let me think other logistic things before we get started. The game plan for today, we're going to touch base on the rewrite assets issue, which was from a couple weeks ago. We're going to then go over the pull request. What else? Anything else logistics wise? Maybe Imagineer for us. We're gonna Mozilla's going to keep hosting a couple more of these, but then, into June, I feel like we can either continue hosting them or we can, maybe it would be more appropriate to host them uh, through the Hubs Foundation. What sounds best to you?
I think the Hubs Foundation will probably take over hosting them.
Cool.
That probably makes sense.
Also, I will not be offended if y'all want to take on a different format for a community edition setup. If you want to continue with different events too. But just in case anyone's watching and is like curious about like they're watching this a month from now and they're like, oh, maybe I can try and track down where some of these kinds of events are happening.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good idea to keep these going at least for a little while after the setup, because or the shutdown, because people will be trickling in and having questions and stuff. So,
Can I also ask you, Imaginer? Let's see here. Um, I don't think we've been able to document it on one of these live streams before, but do you want to say anything maybe about the Hubs Foundation announcement, just in case anyone is watching this further on?
putting me on the spot, are you, my friend?
Sorry, I'm just making you plug
Okay.
everything before diving into technical stuff.
Yeah. Well, we incorporated a nonprofit for the continued development of hubs. We're named the Hubs Foundation. Well, doing business as the Hubs Foundation, and um, we're looking for all the help we can get to make sure that Hubs continues on into the future.
Amazing. Well, thanks for the
And we're
go ahead.
based out of Canada,
Based in Canada.
so yep,
And website will be coming soon.
yes,
Website coming
website will
soon.
be coming soon.
Yeah, it was great to see just after, your announcement, Imagineer, in the general channel. I think hopefully when we do another announcement, it gets even more traction, but it was wonderful to see how much good response there was from that.
Hmm. Long live the duck! Quack.
Very nice. Um,
Quack.
Alrighty. Anything else logistics wise before I dive into technical stuff?
Yvonne, anything you want to say?
I'm sorry I'm late. Glad this is happening. I missed the first 7 minutes, so I don't know if this was mentioned, but are we going to cover integrating Docker files? Was that talked about already, or
Yeah.
I noticed
Yeah.
that okay, great. And I'm particularly interested in PG Bouncer integration.
Yeah. Um, awesome. So I think today, building all of the different services, I actually don't know how long that may take. I don't know what it will be like as I'm recording. I'm also, I'm connected to a hubs room. I don't know if my computer's going to run a little bit slowly to do it, but um, we'll definitely talk through all of the different Docker files that were updated in the recent PR to Hubs Cloud, which is the big thing for kind of locating all of those different services. Um,
Cool. Yeah, I that's sort of the one that I have left, and I can't seem to get that going. And I'm sure it's just something I'm doing with settings, but that's why I'm most interested. But
mhm.
yeah, this is great. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I wanted to start by revisiting something that we did in the last session about migrating Hub's cloud data. At the very end, we had successfully manually updated all of our data and files. However, some of the references in the scenes and in the spoke files were still pointing to the old hosted assets. I just wanted to follow up with a clarification that after further review, that command that I ran was actually successful. It actually, I think we ran into some issues, but it largely rewrote most of the assets. So I'm not going to rerun it right now, but I'm going to look up hubs, look up Mozilla
Was that
hubs.
just a timing thing, Michael? Like it was doing it in the background as we were sitting there watching it?
I think it was.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
that issue that we saw, I don't know how impactful it was. Obviously, something wasn't rewritten correctly, but largely, if I go through my instance now, I'm going to go to admin. And, if I pick any of the projects in here, I don't even know what these projects are. Let me just pick one at random. If I download it and then open it in Spoke, let me make sure I have this. It was this one. So I've just picked a random scene out of the admin panel, not a scene that's owned by me or anything. But now I'm uploading it. I exported the spoke file using the admin panel, and now I'm uploading it. And if I look at any of the hosted assets, so let's see. Um, oh, these are still pointed at the old one. I guess I picked a terrible one to try it out with. But let's see here. Yeah, so these still have some pointing to the old. Let me see if any of these have been rehosted. Gotcha. So
Well, Michael,
this,
you didn't let the command finish, so I'm guessing you got like 20% of it done, right? Once we had it fully running.
mhm. I think perhaps, well, let's check one more to see if we got it. I checked a few others earlier today and they were all good, but let's see in here. So the big thing that I talked with Gung about this, this has actually been a feature that we've just never really publicized. I don't think we've really ever had a purpose for publicizing it since there weren't a ton of users wanting to migrate data. Um, however, we've had this feature in production, I think, since like 2021 or something. So it's been quite a while. Yeah. Okay. So looking in here, I don't know if y'all can see too well. This is a weird scene, by the way. It's just kind of like this point cloud type thing. Um, YouTube files are not working. That makes sense because we don't have YouTube downloader on this instance, but all of the GLB files were rehosted. So I think, I was talking with Gung about the hypothesis here. He does think that when it encountered some asset that it wasn't happy with rehosting, it stopped the process completely rather than just skipping over that individual asset. So I think that's what Gung is trying to update, but I did just want to point out that looking through a fair amount of assets the references were correctly updated. If y'all can see those there.
Yay.
Yeah, cool. Just wanted to touch
Awesome.
base on that. Great. Now let's hop into this pull request. So I've just opened up the Hubs Cloud repo. If you can see now, the number one, the README in the Hubs Cloud repo is gone. This is by design. Right now, we're kind of updating it for the shutdown for kind of, and we don't want, old information in there. But if we go into the community edition, we still have that README there. So I'm still organizing, and this is a little bit of a work in progress on the README side here, but this might be moved around ever so slightly. But this README is very similar to the one that folks will be familiar with. Now, um, looking at our file structure here, we have a new services folder. And Alex, I know you pointed out like 2,000 files changed. That's because
Yeah, I know.
we've
I
opted
saw it.
to centralize most of these repos in here just for kind of ease of getting started and also just to, make sure that there are copies of copies before going into the shutdown to make sure that you know, we're we're not missing anything here that's going to get caught in the shutdown. But a better way
So
to
one thing,
go ahead.
Michael, I do just want to bring one thing up. You guys are going to be missing all of the package JSON npm modules that you guys have forked. So again, hubs, there's like the 3JS. There's a few others that I've seen in there that are like Moz Reality repos. So those should probably
Okay.
also get pulled into here.
Like the Moz Reality fork.
Like open up
But
the hubs client there in the hubs folder,
yeah, but are
and then
those
open
yeah,
the package JSON. Like there's going to be
where's that?
and then just you're looking for the 3JS like repo. Because I think the A-frame one was also, they're pointed at Git repos right now. You see like right down there?
Yeah.
Just keep scrolling. You'll see them right there, like A-frame, all of these.
Yeah.
Any one of those ones that's pointed at a GitHub repo.
Yeah, so we're probably not going to centralize those, but can you help me understand, Alex? My understanding here is that we're only centralizing all of the repos that go into Community Edition at kind of the first layer. We're not talking about the dependencies that Hubs relies on, mainly that the your Community Edition YAML
Okay, yeah, that's
file
fair.
relies on. So I don't think it makes sense to centralize all of those, and we're not planning to at this point. I don't think we're planning to get rid of any public repos. I think at the very least they would be archived and kind of frozen in place. But anything, like that, our fork of 3JS, I don't think it makes sense to centralize those here when they will continue to exist after the shutdown.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's a good point though, and it raises a good question of like why just these and why not like I don't know if I can go to, maybe I'll go to it on a private window so I don't log in, but Mozilla Reality GitHub. So this is just the public view of all of these, and here we can see ones like, let me think of some good ones here. Some of these are pretty old as well. Like we have our photo mnemonic in here. We have Near Spark, and those are brought into the other one, but we also have, I think way back here we have, yeah, our A-frame fork. We have our networked A-frame fork. We have our 3AMO fork, our sprite sheet fork. Yeah, so all of these kind of go into some of these repos, but I think we're mainly just trying to reference the ones that are found when you go to
Yeah, the top level
hcc.yam.
Docker
Yeah.
containers.
So I want to look through the README and then I can kind of go into how this works. But there are many different ways to mix and match, and I think for me as a developer, what is most helpful about this is just kind of separate out which of these are code bases authored by Mozilla, which one are just kind of hosted forks from Mozilla, and then what I'm specifying is other code bases here, either kind of wrappers around existing code bases or literal just references to well-defined conventions. So if we look inside of all of these, let's maybe start at the bottom there. How about let's start with PG Bouncer, Yvonne. So if we go into PG Bouncer, we can see we have a Docker file and then an entry point.sh. The Docker file, if we look at it here, I believe it's just pointing to the PG Bouncer that's hosted on pgbouncer.github.io. So
Interesting.
there's no Mozilla fork that is pointing to. We're just kind of wrapping around it with a bit of customization. Like where's the, yeah, we have our entry point.sh, which is, making some edits to some customizations to the service. But really, we're just
Yeah,
pointing to a,
something in that setup then is, I guess, what I need assistance with. Anyway,
yeah, and we can go through that. But um, going back to just show how it's broken
cool.
down, Coturn, Postgres. I think Postgres, there's not even an entry point. It's just give me a Postgres server. The Docker file is literally from Postgres 12. Um, I won't go into the weeds. It is from Postgres 12, which is, on many platforms soon to be unsupported, but, um, you know, just to illustrate how directly it just points to a convention rather than a Mozilla authored code base or a Mozilla forked code base. I think you can also think about it in terms of a line from top to bottom of most heavily Hubs team unique and then least heavily Hubs team unique, where at the very bottom we just have references to these conventional code bases and software, where at the top we have Hubs itself, the thing that we authored pretty much from scratch, but building on many other libraries, of course. But I do want to take a quick pit stop into the Mozilla forked code bases. If you click on any of these links in the other code bases, it's just going to direct you to the Docker files within this repo. But the forked code bases, these are all Mozilla Reality code base forks, which have been taken um, from other services. But just wanted to point those out there. We're all familiar with the four main Hubs authored forks. Dialog, could be considered a um, Dialog has a fair amount of customization, but all of these are Mozilla authored, kind of Mozilla customized forks, and then at the bottom are other code bases. Let me also share if it's not clear yet. So we showed how Postgres is just a Docker file. PG Bouncer is a Docker file and an entry point script. If we look into Hubs, this is the Hubs code base. So it's not a fork. I don't think I think we would need to use a Git module if we wanted it to keep up with that code base. So it is just kind of a um, last copy from 3 days ago. So I did want to give a fair warning that this is a starting point. We've done this in this kind of haphazard way to make it easy to locate everything and to uh, for new developers to kind of get started. But really, a developer who's managing a stack should be responsible for finding out the source of truth and maintaining it with the source of truth. Um, and so that's why I've linked out to some of the sources of truth here that you can go and kind of keep up with them rather than just using the copies that are directly in here.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Mhm. Any questions about just the structure of the pull request?
With the internally hosted code bases for like Hub's client and Spoke, are those going to be updated like the day before the shutdown, or are they just going to sit there now and maintain the state they are now?
Um, that's a good question. I don't know if Gung has plans to, but I can try and get it on his list of things to do. I see. I think I would agree with you that it would be very helpful to kind of have it be consistent with May 31st rather than, May 10th or whenever he copied it. Um, I think
Yeah.
it will just be more of a uh, will he have time on May 31st to do this? Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
Thank you.
One other big change that we've made to things is going back out a level, just back to the render hcce.sh file. We have two new parameters here. We have our Docker Hub registry. Really, it says username here, but we'll want to, it depends on how you're configuring your Docker Hub, but let's just assume for now we're just using the registry that's associated with our username. And then we have the tag that we want to specify. Now, for by default, this points to stable latest, which is the convention that Mozilla Reality uses on our Docker Hub for all of our containers. So stable latest, you're always going to get the latest of any of our code bases. Stable latest is not, I don't think, a convention for many other publicly hosted images. I think most folks just use latest. Um, but that being said, when you're building, you can, configure a stable latest kind of pipeline if you want to. But just know that by default, Mozilla Reality uses stable latest, but this is not a convention that will work out of the box. If you just, I think latest will be the best way if you just want the latest version of all of your code bases. Now, maybe I'll just go ahead and start demonstrating. So I'm going to open up my okay. I'm going to just clone this new version of the repo. So now I have Hubs Cloud and Community Edition. And I'm just going to demonstrate if I'm running render HCCE again. Let's say I want this to be set to Mike Moran. And let's say from all of my registries, I choose to implement some very strange tagging system. And I want the latest version of all of my code bases to follow along with the duck tab. Now, if I run bash render hcce.sh and then look in my hcce YAML file, if I look for all Mike Moran references, we can see that they're all referencing duck. So, I think when I've demonstrated previous in previous setup sessions, I usually only run render hcce.sh once. And then every time after that, I'm usually just editing directly in the hcce.yaml file. So the first time you run hcce.yaml file, whatever you specify as your container tag is going to be used for every register or every image that you're trying to pull from. Now, of course, I might only be using this weird duck tag for the hubs image. I may not be using it for reticulum. Just go back through and edit the hcce.yaml file with more detail about each of the different code bases there. And we can see there are 13 total. Reticulum, Postgres, reticulum, Postgres, Postgres, PG Bouncer again for PG Bouncer T, Hubs, Spoke, Nearspark, Spiely Captor, which is commented out right now, Photomnemonic, Dialog, Coturn, HA Proxy. Any questions there? It does change kind of the way that people will use render hcce.sh for the first time.
Cool.
So let's go back and maybe talk about actually building these repos. And there are several ways we can do it. I'm going to open back up uh, or I'll open it up here for easier reading. So, building services, there are several different ways you can do it, several different ways you may want to do it. There's not really a better way for anything. We've tried to implement kind of a one size fits all for everyone if you want to just kind of, first time you're installing Community Edition, I want to go ahead and just build all of the different code bases and host them on my Docker Hub account from scratch. Like I don't want to have to worry about doing them individually. Gung has created this Docker build all file, which basically checks to make sure you've specified a Docker username, and if you or a Docker Hub username, and if you have, it will. Oops, I also don't know where my sidebar has gone. That's a little annoying. It will check if you've specified a Docker username, and it will attempt to log in if you have. And if you've specified one, basically it will go through each of the directories in the service directory, and it will attempt to build each of the Docker files that are in there. Obviously, running this could take quite a while, and also you may need to adjust some of the commands in here for your operating system. It's not 100% device agnostic, but this is a way that you can just run the whole script once and build all of them and have them all pushed to your registry. If you don't specify a Docker username, that will just build them locally to Docker on your computer, and then you can push them individually after. That's option, oh, sorry, that's option A. Option B is the specify a Docker username and then build and deploy all of them. But then, we can just go through individually and run the build command. This build all.sh file is basically just running this build command at the end of the day for each of our directories. And then it also will push it. But if you're doing them individually, I'd recommend just doing them individually. And that's the best way, In previous sessions, we've also shown how you can, let's see here. So in the deploy custom apps of the guide I wrote, that uses GitHub Actions. This is going just to the Docker command line interface for Docker Hub. So we're not using GitHub as a middleman. We're just building and then pushing directly from our computer with the commands that I've shared here. Obviously, you can also do this process using Docker, sorry, not Docker, GitHub and GitHub Actions. But yeah, we've just tried to show the easiest, no middleman way of doing it here.
Thank you. To get your sidebar back, there's a little button beside the branch in GitHub.
Thank you. Where is it?
It has the blue dot.
Yeah,
there you go.
I wonder why I pressed, but thank you. That's helpful.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Alrighty. Should we start stepping through them? Any requests for kind of Do people want to see how it works all together? I think we should demonstrate it, but maybe we won't, finish building all of them in bulk, but then we can step through and try some individual ones.
Well, maybe start off with an individual one, and because it's kind of just, as you said, it's just a wrapper. So
Yeah,
maybe start off with the PG Bouncer one for Yvonne.
great. Let's do it. So I'll do this directly in my terminal here. So before we do that, I do want to actually hit on a couple of uh, troubleshooting issues here just before we get started. These were two issues that I encountered. As you're going through this, you might have to specify some different stuff, but sometimes when I'm building certain code bases, Rithik actually came up with this solution when we were running into the npm CI issue on Hubs, on the main Hubs code base, but sometimes you will have to specify platform when doing Docker build, and then also my operating system does not like line 19 of what's it called, of Docker build all.sh, so you might have to replace that too with a different option. Was there a question? Cool. Personal interest in dialogue. Sorry, before we go into everything, I want to make one more uh, clarification to all of the Docker files that we've added to our to the services file. All of those we have deemed to be community edition compatible. But if we go back, and Rithik, you mentioning dialog made me think of this. If we look at the Docker file in dialog, we can see that still referencing that pesky netcat, which was causing issues in the past. If I go back and look at the dialog that's referenced, the Docker file for dialog that's referenced in the services under Community Edition, we can see that that's basically the only thing that's been changed is this line 15, which is commented out, has been changed for line 16, which the only thing different is this netcat reference. So all of the ones in here are Community Edition compatible, and all of the ones in their original code bases, are either a little bit out of date or are compatible with something else. I will be going through before May 31st and making sure that there is a CE Docker file in each of the source code bases that has the reference to these Community Edition compatible Docker files. But Rithik, your note about dialogue made me think of that. Okay, let's actually get to it. Let's start with PG Bouncer for fun. So I don't think I have to specify anything, but I'll cd into services. Also, let me know if y'all have any trouble seeing my terminal down here. So I believe it's just, let me make sure I have this correct. So I'm going to start with Docker login just to sign into the command line interface, which I have to look back here. I believe it's just Docker login and then your username. So Docker login, for me, that's my. All right. I think I should already be logged in, but I'm just going to skip over it today. But it's Docker login, your username, and then your password as well. But I believe I'm already logged in. Okay. Let's see. Going back. Next, we need to run Docker build. So Docker build dash. I'm actually not going to specify a tag, I don't think, but I should just be able to go // pg bouncer, then Docker file. Oop, misspelled Docker file in the pg bouncer. Okay. PG bouncer not found. Why is that? Oh, I'm in the wrong directory entirely. Okay, let's try it again. So just in case anyone has questions about it, this is saying, hey, go to the Docker file in there, um, and then the Docker file references this entry point.sh, which is, contains the code about making it compatible with Community Edition. All right, looking through here, we should have everything exporting to image, exporting layers. Okay, writing image, so we have our image written. Now I should just be able to run Docker push. So yeah, Docker push. I think it's just Mike Moran PG, or sorry, Mike Moran PG bouncer I don't think I specified a tag, but let's say this one is latest. Okay. Now let's open my Docker Hub, PG bouncer. Whoop, no description. Why didn't that work?
I was going to ask that did we tag the Docker images? Like, did we run Docker tag command?
We did not.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
Oh,
When you build the image, that's the tag. Whatever you put in at the end of the name or at the end of the command.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
And if you don't specify it, it'll point at Docker Hub.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't specify a URL.
Okay, so that means that using Docker tag command, we can change the tags at the name.
You can update the tag, or you can duplicate tags. Like a tag in Docker is just pointing at a container. So you could have 100 tags out pointed at the same container. And Docker will not care.
Oh, wow. Cool. Thanks, Alex.
No worries. Just one tip.
Go ahead, Alex.
I was just going to say just one tip. If you're using latest as a tag, also specify another tag version so that you can guarantee, like, what version your Kubernetes clusters are on. I've fallen into spots where I've had latest as a tag and they've pushed code changes. My node rolls over 2 days later and now my entire system's down and I don't know why. So just be very careful with your tagging structure.
Yeah. I've done it fast and dirty here, just trying to push directly there. Let's build it once more and actually specify a tag here. So -t, and I think I can just put a tag in here. I actually don't know. I think I might only have latest in here. So let's maybe just tag it. What's a fun tag here?
Yeah. If you don't specify the tag, then it'll default to latest on Docker Hub.
Yeah. Just to show that I've got it specified as duck. Tag does not exist. Do I need to?
You have to use the original tag first, then the new tag. Like when you tagged it, Michael, did you? Oh, that was in the build. Never mind. Scroll down to the bottom. Like it should tell you. Yeah, you called it duck. You didn't put a tag. You need a colon when you build it because you're the. Or wait, maybe not. I haven't looked
I
at that
thought
code
dash
yet.
T was the tag there. Let me make sure on that. Build T.
Scroll up because you're looking for the arguments to that file.
Mm-hmm. Oh, tag prefix. Okay. Yes. So that I should have actually done tag.
So like when it does the -t, that should be the registry name and the tag.
Yeah.
And then it'll, yeah. So it should be Mike Moran / or :duck, not slash.
Uh-huh.
Because now if you, yeah, see it's now pushing Wait, that's weird. I think you need to add. I'm not sure what this build script is doing. Oh wait, you're doing it directly. Never mind. Yeah, there we go. That'll work.
Okay. So I had to specify the whole thing. Let me make sure this works now. I have no idea what I just pushed the other ones to, but I'm seeing something getting pushed now.
Well, I don't think you pushed anything because those registries wouldn't exist.
Well, I see duck now in my Docker Hub registry. Oh,
Yeah,
but
it
I
shows
see
a
what you're
few
saying.
seconds ago. Yeah, it
Yeah,
shows a few seconds ago pushed.
great. Okay, so to respecify that again, and maybe I should update it uh, in the README here. But for the build command, I had to say Docker build. I had to specify the file and then also the directory. And then for the tag, I had to specify my registry, my image, and then the tag for the image. So I had to specify the whole thing. Um, I had gone through that yesterday. I just completely forgot. Um, but that's a good clarification. I need to update that in the README here. Yeah, your registry for here it should be registry slash image tag. Sorry, folks. Just capturing it before I forget. Okay. All right. What's that, Rithik?
Uh,
Gets
it's just a
SHH.
wordplay.
Oh, nice.
SHA version, shower, shaver.
Hmm. Nice.
But what I said there, Michael, is how I usually set up my CIs. So it'll tag it and build the Docker image with the git sha from the commit, and then use an environment version if you need to on top of it. So just
Gotcha.
tag it twice in CI.
Nice. Let's maybe take a quick peek at the code that we use uh, for deploying here. I think, yeah, the one that I specified with GitHub Actions, it always tags latest and then the run number of the GitHub workflow. Alrighty. Um, what's next? What should we try out next?
Nice. I think going into dialogue would be very interesting.
Let's do it.
Like,
What do you want? Do you want to try and build it, or do you want to take a peek into dialogue itself?
yeah, maybe we can take a peek at dialogue and how, like, whatever you feel the best to go with dialogue, because although it's a very interesting concept, and I feel that it's the core of hubs, with, like, others would also agree.
Gotcha. Well, I um, let me pull that up again. Did I share last time Zach Fox's overview of dialogue, or not just dialogue, but
Yeah,
I
kind of
think you did. Yeah.
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 Let me look for it. I'm trying to only use public-facing channels since I don't have an external interface here. But if I look up, uh, if anyone can find that, that would be great. But yeah, so dialogue really controls the. Oh, thank you. The WebRTC side of hubs, so the real-time audio and then what I'm doing here, the real-time screen share as well. Whereas Reticulum, it does all of the database control, but then also it's Phoenix WebSocket server, so it's doing all of the avatar networking. It's not doing the audio networking. So two different, WebSockets and then WebRTC as the two different kind of real-time communication protocols. Where did my thing go? Do you have any questions in specific, Rithik?
Not really. Actually, just maybe. Yeah, no, not really any questions as specific. It was just to explore what the architecture dialogue is built on. Like we already know Media Soup and SFU servers and stuff. So more of like how it, because it is the real backend of hubs, the in a way that other backend also, like the main backend also interacts with this as a backend, and this lives for a longer time than as compared to the other backends. So in a way, this is interesting, but we cannot overlook uh, to other services as well, because it's the complete architecture of hubs which is very interesting, and that makes this project very awesome.
Sure.
So
Well, I don't know if I'll do a better job than this document at kind of like giving an overview of the architecture there. To be honest, I'm not a great authority in WebRTC, even to a degree of just like being able uh, to talk at a semi-developer level. But I would recommend people just kind of use this as an entry point if they're trying to learn more and how to get started there. Should we try and build it? Sorry, Rithik, I don't know if I'm going to be able to go much deeper than that.
yeah, one question which I might ask, maybe Alex would have also known this, that the Kotan, why is the Kotan actually used? Like it's a shun and turn server as mentioned in the article, and for that we need the signaling to initiate the, like what is Kotan actually, and the use of it.
So, from my understanding, Coturn is there to help the WebRTC connections to happen if one user is blocked. So it's more of like a fallback, from my understanding,
Oh,
because audio channels should be like we should be directly connected when we're talking.
okay, so we are connected like through SFU, right? Like the SFU
Mhm.
is connecting us. So where is the SFU? Is it in Kotan, or
No,
is
it's
it
dialogue.
in, oh, okay, it's in dialogue. Yeah, it's mentioned.
Yeah,
Okay.
Coturn is there if, for example, like like the screen we're watching, if your computer like is in a network that's blocked, it should allow it to get around that block.
Oh, okay.
Because like if you have like if your ISP does CG natting, you'll have one IP for 1,000 clients. So like that's how cell phones work too. You have one IP for like 10,000 people, and then they just route you internally, but that means you have no external like connection. Like you can't give your IP to a service and then accept a port on those networks. It gets really complicated, but like that's ISP level routing and stuff. So
Nice. So it's a very nice solution that has been implemented to make sure that no one is kicked out of the audio conversation and the screen share keeps
right,
going on.
right.
Nice.
It gives them something to connect to, which then you both connect to, and then that's where you get ported through.
Wow. Crazy. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. So, Michael, we can try building Kotlin if we want, because we haven't tried that before.
Gotcha. Let's do it. I just tried
I,
building. Go ahead.
I've been wondering about Coterm too, because there is a line in its config that's commented out, which is the Postgres. So I've been wondering what that's for.
In its.
If you go to the entry
Oh,
point
okay.
in
Gotcha.
script and then scroll down, there's a PG SQL scheme Coturn, and it's commented out, and it's always been commented out in this version,
Which
Oh,
which version is that? Just kind of.
like Community Edition.
Yeah.
It's your guys' Docker containers. That's always been commented out, but I'm not sure why, because then I don't know how Coturn is being used. Like the
Gotcha.
configuration doesn't make any sense.
I'm not entirely sure either.
Because there's some code in ret that like points to that, but it also has no way of knowing where Coturn lives. So I don't know if that's like on the Coturn side or if like I might have to go do more research.
I think I know what you're referring to. Yeah, it's this one right here, where we have a.
Right.
The PSQL though is just the
It's the
database.
database.
Yeah.
But it looks like somewhere it's creating a Coturn table or database in itself, but then it's
Hmm.
not used.
Hmm.
But like I also haven't had anyone complain about it. So I just don't know if the Coturn even needs to be there anymore.
I'm trying to think. Well,
yeah, we can try to build it if it works without the PGSQL, then
Well,
it's not.
building it is different than running it, right? Like
mhm.
we're talking config, not building it. Like building it, it doesn't care if that line is commented out. It's just going to copy that file into the Docker container and run it. That's all it's doing.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that entry point.sh is for the Docker container to educate that how to use it,
Right.
the ports.
In Docker you either have an entry point script or you have a command. So it's like you can actually technically have both of them, but just use them separately right now. If you run a command, it's a one-off. If it's an entry, it'll run that script until it fails or until
Oh,
it finishes.
thanks for that clarification. I did not know that difference.
Okay, so
And
if
then
a
Avon,
pod,
if you sorry, go ahead, Horrific.
yeah, just a small question. If the pod restarts, will the entry point.sh be run again, or will it still live in the pod while it's running?
So so if it's running, it's whatever was in your container. Like just think of the container as a server that just runs that script.
Oh, okay. Or on a
So like you
workspace
can,
technically.
yeah, like it's not like that file, that entry point.sh gets copied into the container, and then that's what's running on your system, right? So once you build the container and push it to Docker Hub, then when it's running, then environment variables are the only thing that can change that script.
Okay, so
That
it's more
script,
of like a config file, just like uh, yeah, more of config file which says how that container should work.
it's not a config because like that's what the Docker file is. The entry
Oh,
script is what's happening in the container when you turn it
okay,
on.
cool, awesome.
And then if you want to, you can also like you can do some cool stuff where like you can have an entry file that runs, and then you can have commands that run on top of that entry file that overwrite what's happening in there. It can get really complicated, but just know that, that if you want a script to run, you're probably and you want it to continuously run, use the entry point. and then use commands to change how that thing is being interacted. If you want to use like arguments and that kind of stuff. So
Mm, nice.
did you find it, Michael? Because like I've been poking through the like the all the different repos and stuff, trying to figure out
Yeah, I
why it's
mean,
there.
one of the weird things here is that I think it's referencing something to do with Turkey, which whenever I see Turkey, I think of uh well, no,
World.
but that's separate here. But I think of the managed subscription. I don't think of necessarily
Right.
Community Edition. But I'm looking through Hub's ops, which I feel like would be a good place to start. So this says Janice.
Which is the old dialogue,
Yes,
and they never updated the names in a lot of places.
yes.
Oh.
Here's here's some of Greg's notes here. So this, of course, looks like pretty old code. PostgreSQL database connection string. In the case that you're using PostgreSQL as the user database, this database can be used to store long-term credential mechanism. Honestly, this actually doesn't look like his comments. It looks like boilerplate something. But yeah, I'm just trying to trace down
Mm,
the coturn side of this. Coturn, Toml, J2. So, Alex, is your thinking that because that is commented out in the entry point, that it's really not even used at all? Or are you just confused about how it's used if
Well,
it's not?
both, because like I can't I don't see logs in Coturn in the pods like most of
Yeah,
the
it's
time,
not
and
verbose at
then
all. Yeah.
right, and then dialogue doesn't have a reference to it. The only way I can tell that it's actually being used is by HA proxies like forwarding ports to it.
Hmm.
But then like Rhett doesn't know about it either, so I'm just wondering like where it falls in like it's there, but how does it get used?
Hmm.
And like I understand the why if it's working.
Yeah.
Because it's not like it has an endpoint. And like when I've gone and looked at like how to set it up as like a daemon set or as like a proper deployment, um, everyone says put it behind a URL so that you can scale it properly and not have to use host networking.
Hmm.
mm,
Like if you want to use host networking, a daemon set is the way to go because then you run one coturn on every node. But
Yeah.
if you want to run it on a single node, then it gets kind of weird because you need that external IP.
I don't want to start poking into the subscription instances while I'm, sharing screen,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that would be my next thing is like to see if it is just something that we've configured for for
The
our side of things.
subscriptions. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also vaguely remember it being in Hub's cloud.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100% sure.
Let's try and build it just for fun.
yeah.
Should be pretty quick, I feel like. Oh, maybe not. There's a fair amount.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened. What's happened here?
Oh, load
You're out of
connection.
space.
Oh no! Well, on my
Yeah, your computer's out of space. Uh, you could prune
oh
some
no.
images if you want.
I could do what?
You can prune images from Docker or prune stuff that you're not using anymore.
Yeah.
Or you could expand Docker to hopefully give you more space if like it might be limited.
Oh yeah, disk 0 GB available.
Ooh,
Oh man, what have I been doing? What do I want to?
Building lots of Docker images, obviously.
yeah, those things take the space. Was it Docker Service Prune or something?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I'll,
system prune, I think.
System Prune.
But
should
be careful
well,
because
can you teach me that?
it'll delete everything.
Yeah, can you teach me that command?
Yeah, it should just be Docker system prune and then dash dash RMI. I think will just delete the images. I'd have to look it up.
Here, I'm actually gonna do
Yeah,
it
it
manually.
is. It
I don't
is.
want to get rid of my uh
Okay, so just so you know, Michael, it's Docker system prune, and then like dash A will remove all unused images and not dangling ones, not just dangling ones. If you do just a flat one, it'll only get rid of dangling images. So like stuff that's not being used,
yeah.
stuff that you don't have tags to or aren't being run.
hmm I'm going to keep I'll get rid of my dangling ones too. Honestly, I don't know what 1.4 GB of dangling would be. Um,
That could like if you use the same tag over and over again, it's gonna leave you with a bunch of none images because it takes the tag and moves it to the new image.
gotcha. Well,
So
there we
just
go.
yeah, back to
Okay.
8 gigs.
Back to 8 gigs.
Like magic.
Okay, let's do it again. Here we go. Might take another few moments here. Um, so after this, maybe we can show how I could use this coturn in my existing instance. But I'm curious, kind of, to hear from community members. Are y'all planning to host any publicly built images, or I'm planning to have mine open and available for the most part, in case people want to use mine. But I'm curious if y'all have done, especially the folks who are doing the development resources for the community, what if there's a plan there, or if people should be on the lookout for any publicly hosted stuff.
I think there probably will be. We've talked about that before, but we haven't set up anything for that yet.
I do kind of want to get a public directory up and running at some point on the Hubs Foundation website.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
like hopefully allow like admins like yourself to go and add like here's my stack, like come out, like use it or whatever you want to say, obviously.
Right. Or this is open on Sundays.
Open on Sundays.
Between 2 and 4.
Totally. I mean, honestly, we should have.
Okay. I have reclaimed some space. If I look back, I should see coturn pushed relatively recently. I know we've shown this in a previous episode, but let's go here and point our image from to Mike Moran, coturn, duck. Save and close. I probably should have spun down. Oh, it's trying to spawn a new coturn, probably because I'm connected. I'm just gonna scale down my deployments of coturn, then I'll
I'm
spin
so
back.
jealous of that scale down. I've been using Octant and it's great, but it can't do that.
What's octet?
Octant is it's like another version of Lens
Yeah.
because I was using Raspberry Pi.
In the past we've
Do you know?
used Schooner's admin UI. I'm very impressed with how easy it is to use Lens, but yeah, I know. Oh, why is CodeTurn hung up? XAC format error. Something is not working. Docker entry point.
Thank you.
What's that? Yeah.
Scaling with command line.
That's the only way to do it.
I think I have that. Oh yeah, I didn't share my insane visually based mind mapping list of command line thing. Well, one day I'll show it to you and you can crack out. Imaginary seen it, but it makes me look crazy.
What is it? Is it just
Add
something
that.
you've
I'll
written?
add that. Yeah, it's just a way I keep notes for myself in a way that can't really could be shared with other people because it looks insane. But it's just like these flowers of commands that are related to certain tasks. And for me, just as a quick reference point, it's useful for the moment.
Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at this and it's unhappy with the entry point for some reason.
What's complaining? Is it the actual pod? Can you look at the?
Yeah, yeah.
Can you describe the pod?
I think again you have to specify platform uh, 64.
Oh, for the build.
Yes.
Silly Max.
What is it?
It's probably gonna be all your images that you built, Michael. You're gonna have to redo
Yeah,
that.
that's a good point. I've completely forgot that. So on my Mac, I gotta do this, little friend.
Just for clarification, this might be an obvious question, but when you're creating Docker files, I noticed that like Alpine would be listed often. Is that just like a regular default easy?
It's a tiny Linux distro that has
Okay.
minimal things installed on it. Be careful with Alpine because it's built differently than like Ubuntu and Fedora and all that kind of stuff. So it's very stripped down. And
Gotcha.
it has a different package manager, so some packages don't always work. Like just I've always I always switch whenever I see Alpine and they offer an Ubuntu version. I always switch to that image because the minimal Ubuntu image usually runs better, in my
Gotcha.
experience.
So
But
is it
it also
necessary?
depends on what you're doing. Just
Yeah.
know that.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I noticed that like Debian Bookworm is much more popular. I mean, that's what I've been using most, but does it necessarily need to, obviously doesn't need to match what you're using, but then if you want to maybe test stuff out, build something locally to make sure it's working, you'd want the Docker container to maybe match that environment. Is that right? Or does it even matter?
No, like the reason you use Docker containers is so that you have your own operating system wherever you want it on any hardware.
Gotcha. Yeah, that all makes sense. I was
And
just, yeah.
horrific. I've never tried to, but I don't think you can run Docker like Ubuntu desktop on Docker. I don't see that working very well. Um, like I've only ever used the server image.
Okay, actually, like the server images, it claims to be very lightweight and uh,
Yeah. Well, there's a couple
very.
copies of it on Docker Hub for Ubuntu. They have like a lightweight, like a minimal one, and then they have like a full blown install. Because they like when you install Ubuntu server, you get to pick.
Yeah, right. Lightweight versus, and it actually
Mhm.
comes with all the tools like kubectl and like so many micro CLI tools, which we need most, even like Open SSH server and stuff. Like uh, it is really good, and the way it's named like Ubuntu server, it's actually specified for server. Like it is very minimal and quite difficult to use, but very good with the CLI. I mean, difficult to use as compared to the Ubuntu, uh, the real Ubuntu.
Well, like I think it depends on what you classify the real and Ubuntu. Like, are you talking about the GUI? Because like under the hood, they're both the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Like the desktop version just has like KDE or GNOME on top of the server. That's all it's doing.
Right. Crazy.
Oh no, you're out of storage again, Michael?
I am. Um,
Nice. Yeah.
part of it is also I did a local backup of one of the what are they called? One of the servers that I'm helping migrate Hub's cloud data on. So it has like, I don't know, like 20 gigabytes of stuff, which I think is contributing to the issue. But maybe I will try once more to see. Um, I'd love to see almost like a hugging face of hubs emerge with just people kind of contributing their own add-ons, contributing their own publicly hosted builds, contributing even just forks and documentation. I would love to see a centralized place for that.
I think that's something the Hubs community is hopefully going to set up. If you want to help, Michael, we're going to need lots of help.
I will be glad to. It's hard for me to think of like anything other than just like the somewhat menial shutdown tasks that I have to do.
No, no,
But
no. I'm talking June past
yeah,
past May 31st.
I
Like
know you are.
Yeah.
I know
the
you
Hubs
are.
community is going to need help.
I know you are. It's something that like for me like I know I'm gonna be excited to do. Right now, just I also feel a little bit like I'm gonna want to take
Yeah.
a short break after, so
Mhm.
that I can get
I
excited
think
about that kind of stuff.
mentally, everyone's mentally saving a seat for you in their brain.
Perfect.
Mhm. Yeah.
Why doesn't it give me anything here? Um, Perhaps the limit is also just the space that I've reserved for Docker. Can I just update my
Yeah.
settings here? Where's my settings?
Yeah,
It,
maybe
it,
it's Docker space rather than disk.
Okay. Memory limit, let's just bump it up to 12
well, no,
gigs.
it's the actual like virtual disk limit, which is 64 gigs, Michael. If you go down
Oh,
too,
okay.
that's your problem. You're going to have to restart Docker after you do that. So
Okay.
you might want to.
I've done it. It's too late.
Yeah, I was going to say bump it up even more, but that usually is the first thing I do when I install Docker is I go in and I give it double the amount of space.
Gotcha.
64 gigs is not enough.
Sometimes. I know people who run uh, proper operating systems on 20 to 30 GB of disk space. Like obviously it's Linux, but that's how things work.
Impressive.
Like, don't get me wrong, I have like 50 VMs running, each with like 20 gigs of storage, but they're not like I'm running tasks on them.
Yeah, obviously, like you just download, maybe just download Docker and that's it. You cannot do anything else.
Well, like the best way to do it is hook up a NAS, like get some network attached storage to it, and then save everything there.
Hmm.
Cool.
Come on now. Give me my storage. Give me my image. I want it.
Docker.
Okay. Finally.
Cool.
Let's push it.
Now, Michael, the question is, do you have the coturn image set to always on Kubernetes? So it's going
Yeah,
to pull it or not.
good point on there. Let's grab it. Image pull
Cool.
policy. Oh, it's there. Looks like it's always.
Perfect.
Okay. So I'll scale down my deployment.
You can also just delete the pod and it'll bring it back up with the new
So I've
container.
I've stopped doing that just because I feel like it, but not for any good reason. um. Oh, why is it? Why is it
So
upset?
it's probably something with Lens that's going on. Like I don't know. Have you tried using GUIs for Kubernetes? And I always go back to the command line.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's go back to the command line.
So powerful.
What's so powerful? The
The command line.
I mean, it's the source, right? It's what was the command you
Yep.
gave?
Kube control scale deployments dash dash all dash dash replicas equals 0 dash n namespace.
Yeah, so Michael, we both have pasted the command again.
First, I want to describe my deployment to make sure I have it in there. I also need to config get. Sorry, folks. Just switching over from a previous build.
Okay, it's the last one.
I really hope they remove set context.
Hmm.
It's always so confusing.
Yeah, I always forget about it too. Okay, so I'm in. Where's my image? Okay, Mike Moran, co-turn duck. Perfect. What is my? Okay, replicas I'm at 0, which is good. I guess just turn it on.
Change that to 1 and add your namespace. It will scale all of them, but it doesn't matter. You don't, yeah, just 1, hit enter.
Co-turn.
Good old,
What?
good old crash loops. Describe the pod itself, Michael.
Can we check out Docker Hub if it is uploaded successfully or might be?
We successfully pulled the image. Scroll up, Michael. Go see why it terminated.
Logs?
Right there, error, exit 1. Try just deleting the pod and see if it'll come back up, because that might be the one that was crash looping prior.
Nope. So when I was looking at well, maybe I should just look at the pod logs. Uh, what's the command for logs again?
You don't
kubectl.
need get. You don't need
Oh,
get.
it just
You've got
logs.
everything, but yeah. Oh,
Okay. Um,
go back and look at the config for the Docker file.
The entry point or the
Whoa. Okay, so it is using that entry point. Yeah, what's in the entry point? Like,
I mean, what's Docker entry point? Um,
I want to say that's. I feel like that is Kubernetes complaining, but why?
mhm.
Okay, so it is like apparently that error specifically means you're running the wrong architecture. So go do what Horrific said and go check Docker Hub. You might want to just change the image name entirely, or
Yeah.
the tag entirely, and just update it again.
I mean, maybe I can just push it to latest.
Yeah, that would work too.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
Well,
Plus,
you can tag the copy you have right now
yeah.
with,
Do you
if you just
do you
go
know how
Docker
to
tag and then yep,
Docker
Docker
tag?
tag, then the source tag, and then the new tag.
Okay.
So you want, yeah, call it Duck2 or something.
Oh,
okay.
well, I just called it
Since
latest.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Coturn doesn't have a latest tag, does it? I think it only has the duck tag.
I'm seeing a lot of
mm,
layers already exist. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
because
think
it's just it points the same. It just points at the same container. So
there's probably some command to overwrite the existing one.
I
well,
guys, I have
the problem. Sorry, Harith. Like the problem isn't Docker. I think the problem is Kubernetes won't update because it's the same name. So if you change the
Oh,
tag name on Kubernetes, that should allow it to roll over.
okay. It's something to do with the poll policy?
Hmm.
Okay.
Because I've had that happen before, where like if you try, like Kubernetes will accept that there's a new tag there, that you've said it's a new tag, but then it goes and looks and says, hey, this container hasn't changed, but
Sure.
it has changed. So it's just, there's weird conflicts in Kubernetes sometimes with image names.
Yeah, and now it's
That's why the
up in
more
green.
unique it is, the
It's up
better.
in green now. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So
So
just to kind of recap the issue. Oh, is it up in green? Yes. I don't know why the okay. I don't know why the deployment bugged out. So just to recap the issue there, when we had initially published, we hadn't used the platform tag when building the AMD 64 tag for Mac. And because of that, when we had originally pushed to coturn duck, that was using a bad um, that was using a bad build. But then when we tried to push the update to duck, Kubernetes was not pulling down that latest copy. It was just saying like, oh, there's already a duck tag in here. Let's just keep using the existing one that's down here. Um, Alex, do you know what the best way to adjust the? I guess that
It the
you
the
just
pull
never
policy
would.
always, so you just shouldn't tag twice. That's the
Yeah,
name of the, like, that's the thing. Just
that's the better way
always
of
using a
doing it.
unique tag. Yeah.
Mhm. Each build should have a unique tag.
And the reason why, when I said earlier, use like a SHA, that's the unique tag that you should push to Kubernetes as a set image. And then you have a dev image or a production image that is a version that allows you to, when you need to, like if you're using Helm, for example, you want to reinstall the chart somewhere, you need to have that top tag and you need to know what that tag is. So that's why I always use like an environment variable that follows the latest tag that you've pushed,
Gotcha. Can I
which is
ask
what
you,
you guys, go ahead.
go ahead. Can I ask you then how does it know how to get down like the latest version of our stable latest code or the latest code tag?
So it's it'll look at, like, it looks at the tags first, and then if it matches it, like, I think Kubernetes will always check a latest tag because of that paradigm that most people like, that a lot of stuff uses it. But don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I know that with the set, like with kube control set image, it's going to need a unique name.
Hmm.
So if you're rolling over, I'm not like, there's just oddities with how Kubernetes deals with tags and Docker images. So
Hmm.
I think it is getting better.
Nice. Wow, wonderful. It's always good to know something new.
Hmm.
Yeah, so you see that, I see right there, if you omit the pull image field and the tag for the container image is latest, it'll automatically just pull it.
Gotcha.
So that also might be why the latest tag worked and the other one didn't.
Hmm. Yeah. So it is making some accommodations for that paradigm, the latest paradigm. Cool. I'm glad we went through that. That'll be helpful for people who are deploying custom stuff. Alrighty.
Cool.
I think that's about everything I was hoping to cover today. Maybe I can go ahead and just get it started, although it won't finish. But if we did want to run the full uh, Docker build all sh, basically I would just put my Docker username in here, and then uh, a couple of notes here for the remember my computer hates line 19, so I'm gonna just shift that out for this. And then I also need to specify the platform when I'm doing at the end of line 26, which is the build line. So I should be able to run bash docker build all.sh. It's going to ask me for my password once again. I guess I do have to log in. I can go through this again.
Yeah, by the way, also while you were troubleshooting it, I tried to put your image in place of my code and it worked. So
Sweet.
You
That's what
took
I'm
my
trying
image?
to.
No, not
You're stealing
allowed.
it.
Not allowed.
It's public, so
No.
You got 3 downloads now, Michael.
Stop using my
It
co-turn.
totally.
yeah, but we helped you. It's ours.
Our Koto now, Michael.
Delete it, Michael. Delete it quickly.
This is a good point. Yvonne, would you, so I'm canceling this process because I don't want to have to go through the full build process, but Yvonne, what if I did want to use a private repo? Did you ever get that figured out?
I did not. I tried to like rebuild it from the, what is it called? It's like the history, the digest. Um, I was never really sure. Maybe Alex can uh, speak to this, but there's like add / and then a hash, which I don't know if that points to a file or to files on hardware or if it's just a record. But oh, maybe that's no, that's not one. But
No, what?
I
So
always
I can
wondered if that was yes. Please do.
Yeah, okay, so there's a couple different ways to do it. Each different registry has a different way to log in. And like the best way to do it is secrets on Kubernetes. What you do is you give a secret to like the default location, like the default namespace or the kube control or wherever you want to put it. You put it somewhere that everyone has access to. And then all your deployments will be able to use those credentials when you give it that registry. So
Gotcha.
it sounds confusing, but you do it once and you'll be like, oh, this is way easier. So just follow that. Like,
Cool.
and then there's documentation to log into like I don't know if it's on Kubernetes website, but there's place like you can find like the Google or like the ECR version of like for kube control.
Hmm.
Um, like here, I'll put this documentation. This is for Amazon, but this is how you get the
Gotcha.
rights to allow EKS to access a private registry on Amazon.
Hmm.
And then Google has the same documentation.
What are the most popular for that?
For private,
Or for
it
yeah. Not for private, but just container registries at all.
so there's two really. There's the GitHub one, the GitHub container registry, and then there's Docker.
Gotcha.
At least in my experience, those are the two biggest ones.
Okay.
Oh, and then were you also mentioning the HCC YAML file and using a private Docker image on that? Is that what you meant? I was thinking of something different.
Yeah, so it would be like if you change out the Moz
'Cause
reality for your private
yeah,
registry,
you could just
that
add a
like
password. Yeah.
yeah, you can add the credentials there, but it's easier to add them as a secret to your entire cluster because then all your deployments will have access to that secret and those registries.
I get it.
So,
Okay. So
so
yeah.
then you give one secret the permission to all of your registries, and then it has access to them all. Like,
Gotcha.
don't give it admin rights, but give it
Right.
read write or
Right.
read access to your registry.
Do you do those
I understand.
do you do those inline with the image, or do you have to like specify like secret?
Yeah, it's in line with the image.
Okay.
Well, sorry, you would change out Mike Morand for like your ECR link, right? Or to the registry. And then when you add a secret, you don't need to do anything here because the Kubernetes uh, registry operator will go look for those secrets and
Sure.
then grab the right credentials and attach them.
But what if I wanted
If
to do
but
it
you
inline?
you can do it right there.
Is it just
I
like
don't remember what the actual config is
and
right now, but
and
it's
pwd?
I could find mine. I'm trying to look. Let's see.
it should be it's image pull secrets colon and then enter and then tab in
Oh,
dash name and then the secret name.
Gotcha.
But that's just doing a pod if you want to do just a single pod.
Here we go. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know if you
and
can
then
see that right there.
there's
Yeah.
I'm on a different screen right now. Yeah, yeah,
Very cool.
yeah.
Good to
So
know.
Oh
that's how
yeah,
you.
that's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, it's all coming back to me how those things are related.
But yeah, I would recommend using the secret because then you can switch out the secret and you don't have to redeploy things and it makes it a lot easier.
Cool. Cool. Cool.
So we
And
won't
also
go
you
through that
don't
one.
make the
Go ahead.
sorry, just one last thing. It also means that you won't make the mistake of pushing your secrets to GitHub.
Yes.
Yeah. Have to-
Been there, done that.
Who hasn't?
Hope you
Awesome.
didn't wake up to a big bill.
Sadly,
Did-
I have.
Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. That's terrible.
yeah. That's why I'm just like shut it all down. I mean, it's not secure, but it's like the one positive uh, aspect of our setup.
When hackers are doing that, hackers, I should say, they're just looking through and trying to find your credentials. Are they getting any
It's
value?
scraping.
Are they getting any value out of that, or are they just like
Oh
running up a
yeah.
ton of costs just for fun, or are they actually like running
No, they're
necessary
mining. Bitcoin
services?
mining. Bitcoin
Oh,
mining.
gotcha. Yeah, gotcha.
Like there's a ton of bots out there that just scrape GitHub specifically for AWS credentials so that they can spin up the biggest CPUs and then just Bitcoin mine for as long as they can.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I,
Wow.
I have my experience to share with guys here, like a little bit experience.
Before we
What?
before we do that, I might go ahead and conclude this
Yeah, let's
the
finish it.
recording for for everyone.
Okay. Okay.
But I do want to hear this, so I'm going to conclude it quickly. Well, thank you everyone for hopping in. Thank you everyone for watching. This is going to conclude kind of the series, I think, of recordings. I don't know if I'll, you know, make a new recording in the future for a future session, but this kind of concludes 10 or 11 or 12 sessions of that we've been able to share. So really wonderful, and yeah, thank you all for all of your help along the way. Keep a lookout for more ways that the community is organizing around community edition setup.
Nice. So,